German Chancellor Angela Merkel shaken up the world when she announced that she would not seek re-election in 2021, asking Germans and the rest of the world to prepare for her departure. This comes after, just one day after President Trump publicly congratulated Brazil's far right populist candidate, Jair Bolsonaro, who was just elected as Brazil's next president. He is a lawmaker known for divisive rhetoric, and he has made offensive remarks against women, gay people, Brazilians of color, and even democracy. Both moves highlighting a shift from traditional global-focused leaders to ones that favor a far more extreme nationalist platform. Ron and Governor O'Malley back with me. Governor, I want to go back to exactly what you were saying earlier. People are asking for civility, decency, moderation. That's what you're saying people are asking for when candidates knock on their door, but it's not what people appear to be voting for around the world.
Yeah, look, the challenge here is that there are so many forces coming together, creating such a rapid pace of change on climate and what that does to immigration, on a changing economy, a third industrial revolution, or some would call it a fourth, this coming together of automation that seems to be wiping out jobs. There is a fear out there that people are about to become worth less, that me and my children are about to be worth less. And in that climate, it is easy for the scapegoating, the blame the others, let's erect a wall, let's pull up the drawbridge, let's keep what's ours. But the better path and the course that the progressive leaders have to dial up is that winning story of the future that people can see their own family succeeding in. Hillary Clinton was wrong when she said that, all of Trump's supporters were deplorable. They weren't deplorable. They were scared. And a lot of them still are. And a lot of those folks in Brazil are scared, and a lot of the people in the far right that are voting for candidates across Europe are. But I think Macron offers a way forward for progressive leaders. And that is that you have to lead with the democracy reforms. Constitutional right to vote, making sure our government's actually open and transparent, and we measure performance, show people whether we're doing what we're doing. The great challenge to Western democracy is Western democracy itself. Its efficacy, its ability to solve problems, and its ability to give our kids a better shot at a better future.
Ron, when Mike Bloomberg talks about global trade and relationships, he said it is about building floors, not about building walls. Correct. It's about creating partnerships of stability. Angela Merkel is considered, especially from market participants, from investors, as a symbol of stability in Europe. Without Angela Merkel there, what kind of instability could we expect, especially if she's replaced by a far more extreme right-wing candidate?
And the far right is gaining ground in Germany, even as it has now in other countries, whether it's Brazil, as you mentioned, where the new president sees a greater role for the military in the government, along with...
Well, in Germany, one could argue they actually have a significant immigration issue, much more than the United States does.
Well, we don't have an immigration issue. In fact, we have an immigration shortage. We've talked about this on several different occasions, and particularly for low, medium, and high-skilled jobs. Doesn't matter whether it's legal or illegal. We are keeping people out of the labor force that would otherwise help our economy grow.
We should also just remind our audience that caravan that the president speaks of, there is zero evidence that there are gang members on that trail.
Yeah, they're refugees. And listen, one could argue that Merkel and other leaders in Europe may have mishandled or read the severity of the migrant crisis that they had, particularly when it comes to what's happening in Syria and the Middle East, and they might have planned or tried to plan better for it. It doesn't, however, give license for people to, suddenly decide that a shift to the far right makes sense because they're threatened by people who are literally refugees, not terrorists. And this is an argument that obviously the president promulgates here in the United States. What's also interesting to me, Stephanie, is this move to the far right, unlike what happened in the 1930s in the interwar years, is occurring during a period of relative prosperity around the world. You have pretty strong economic growth. And not that it's understandable what Germany did in the 1930s, but they were paying war reparations. They had been beaten in World War I. There was resentments that came out of rather large-scale global events. We don't have that today, and yet you see the same type of feeling of disenfranchisement. And I agree with the governor, but the one biggest public policy failure here in the United States is that our government is so out of sync. Policy is out of sync with progress in such a way that
especially
those people
in technology
and those people who have been left behind have not been retrained or educated to be part of a very rapidly advancing workforce.
It's almost as if we're not allowed to, it's almost as if we can't politically figure out a way to help our workers when the whole economy changes. And that's what makes people despair. You know, we keep saying here, oh, the economy's better, the economy's better. Yes, job growth is better.
For a portion of Americans.
But for most Americans, they feel they are working harder. There's an apocryphal story where a congressman comes home and he crows in a town hall about how we've created more jobs. And a woman in the back of the hall says, yeah, tell me about it. I've got 3 of them now. That's the great problem.
But that is an apocryphal story. And there are, listen,
no,
I mean, when you...
Well, it's apocryphal, and it teaches because it's the reality out there.
It's some of the reality. There are 40,000 open jobs in cybersecurity that pay $95,000 a year. Trucking jobs pay between $80,000 and $120,000 a year. They're not obsolete yet. They won't be for another 5 years or so, maybe longer. But there are a host of jobs that are open that people are not taking. We should not be looking at coal mining when you have other forms of energy that employ 4 times the number of miners we have in the country.
And our own government isn't training up our people as we did in every other big change.
We got to close the gap. I invite our audience, though, look into President Trump's support of Bolsonaro from Brazil. The average person reading the president's tweets probably don't realize what the president of Brazil represents. But you know who realizes that? People in the far right who are homophobic, who are against equality. And when they see the president say something like that, it's a dog whistle where he says, I'm on your team. Get concerned about that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.